Welcome, everyone, and thanks for tuning in for Foot's Sake. If you haven't noticed, we have a new podcast title for Foot's Sake Podcast. That's because we're going to be separating things out a little bit. We're not going to do the music portion really so much. We might do that in the future in a separate podcast, but this is really going to be a soccer discussion podcast going forward. We really just want to grow the passion of the sport here in America. So that's what we're going to be doing. And that's where you guys come in the most, because we really want your questions. We want to have a Q&A segment with you guys about the state of football as you see it. You can ask us anything. We have a new Gmail that you can send us questions to for footsakepod@gmail.com or for footsakepod on any social media account. We'll be there and really excited to hear from you guys. But let's not talk anymore about that boring stuff and get right into it. Hello and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I'm Paul Castanet and got my friend Will Robinson back with me.
Hey.
So let's get right into the footy talk today, you guys. We're going into an international break, so I'm sure everyone's bummed that there's no games this weekend. But we're going into that break with Chelsea at the top of the Premier League. I'm sure that's something that makes you smile a little bit. Couple tough losses there to Juventus and City, but are back on track with another win against Southampton. How do you feel going into this break?
Not bad. I mean, considering who we lost against, it's not just like a surprise loss to a Norwich or Newcastle or something like that. You know, you're losing to Manchester City, Juventus, hurts, but at least strong opponents. But getting that redemption win against Southampton helps out a lot, although had a little brief scare between the penalty kick and Ward-Prowse getting sent off. I mean, after that, it just seemed like the team took off, but no complaints. I mean, going into international break, top of the table,
yeah,
not bad.
He had a really strong depth. Tuchel rotated a lot for that game against Southampton with Loftus-Cheek and Ross Barkley and a lot of some of the lesser-known names getting some playing time.
That's a good thing. That's always a good thing. These seasons are long. You never know what's going to happen, and especially Loftus-Cheek. It just seems like he's had some bad luck. I mean, I know Sarri kind of brought him back in, and he was kind of in and out with the back injuries, and then, of course, the unfortunate Achilles injury and that random friendly over here, well, in Boston.
Yeah.
But I just hope everything works out for him because we could definitely use him. You know, he's a big guy, but he's got incredible, great skill, great
when he
feet.
Drops that shoulder in the midfield, he just runs right past everybody, man.
So I really do hope it works out for him, and it's another dimension. You know, it's something.
Yeah.
Kovacic doesn't. Well, he's got the physicality, but just offers really not much in the final third. And then Jorginho, everyone knows about Jorginho. Just, I mean, look, he's good at what he does, but it's just anything beyond that, you know what's going to happen. Yeah. So it seems like Loftus-Cheek kind of. He's like a combination of both of their shortcomings. So I don't know if that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's it, and that's great. And then you got Ross Barkley, who I guess again, none of us are in preseason or in training, so we don't know what goes on.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something Tuchel saw that was like, okay, maybe we could work with this guy. And then funny thing is, it seems like Saul's going to be the outside guy looking in.
Yeah, one of the more experienced guys they brought in from Atletico, like we said a few weeks ago, and. Man, he did had a really rough go on his first ever appearance, which I think might be holding him back a little bit. But he really is a luxury player. It's with Chelsea's talent and depth, it's not really a player that they necessarily need in the squad. Yeah.
Well, if I know Tuchel, he'll find some use for him. I mean, again, long season. These seasons are long between injuries, suspensions, and then of course potential COVID cases.
Yeah.
You never know. He might get his moment. So I said it from the get-go. It's a win-win. I mean, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, back to Madrid.
Back to Madrid, and then he's their problem.
Exactly.
Today, also, we record on Sundays, was another really great game. Liverpool and Manchester City. It really went down to the wire. It was really back and forth, ended 2-2. Those are the number 2 and 3 teams. Based on this start going forward, is there between those three, which I think we agreed at the front of the season was probably the three that were in for the title. I mean, it's too early to call, but how I'll just go ahead and say I've been surprised that Liverpool have kind of maintained it without really that many new pickups.
That's the thing with Liverpool. Look, they do have a good team. There's no denying that. But when you're talking about depth, you compare their bench to a Chelsea, a Man City. I'll even throw in a United.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look too good. I mean, all it takes is you saw it last season. One injury to their key players, and everything just turns upside down.
Yeah.
So, and then not to mention it's African Cup of Nations year, so they're going to lose both Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it's just who steps in. I mean, Diogo Jota, he's not bad.
Yeah,
but
and he's stolen Bobby Firmino's spot. It looks like Firmino's not even in the squad most times. But.
So maybe that could be an opportunity for him. And then, of course, they Liverpool loaned out Xherdan Shaqiri. I'm just now figuring this out. Found out that they loaned him out to Lyon.
Lyon, yeah.
So I mean, even though I think everyone's just accepted he's a tournament player. But for that month, that would have been a good someone to utilize, unless again Klopp they just see something in him that it's like I can't trust this guy. So that's my only concern with Liverpool. Not a bad. They've got like a good starting 11, but it's just someone gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, who are you gonna call up on? What about City? It's hard to say that they performed too bad, but I've just been underwhelmed watching them. Just not as defensively strong as they have been in years past, and just not as creative going forward, which I know we've talked about, like their lack of a false or their lack of a number 9. They play a false 9, but I don't know. What do you think their main issue is?
I mean, that's probably it right there, that number 9. But here's the thing. I think in the games that they're quote unquote supposed to win, they're going to run over teams that they're supposed to.
Right.
I mean, with what they've got, but if they go up against a team that's just well organized, that's not going to let them get pulled out of get their defense get pulled out of place, just kind of stand their ground, City's going to hit a wall, and there's going to be a time where it's like, okay, we need to change something up. At least you look at Chelsea, you've got Romelu Lukaku, even if he's not scoring goals, he's creating those spaces for a Werner, for a Mount, for whoever to exploit and potentially get a goal. So. I think that's going to hurt them, but at the same time, I think they've got enough quality to still win the league as far as I'm concerned. Champions League's another story, but I'd say they are, I mean, until something else happens, I really do think they're probably going to still be favorites. Yeah.
Switching tables to look at Spurs a little bit. They've had a kind of a rough start to the season. Actually 3-0 losses, which is kind of rare for them. It kind of seemed defensively falling apart a little bit. And most notably, Harry Kane has yet to score a Premier League goal this season and has really looked pretty invisible throughout his most of his playing time out on the field. Did he miss his chance to move, or what do you think is going on with Harry?
Realistically, this is where Daniel Levy dropped the ball. I mean, I know he was playing this game and it happens, not just in football, but any other sport. The owner or any area of life, whoever's running the show, they want to make sure they're the ones in charge. They flex their authority. So Daniel Levy won that battle, but you've got a player who just doesn't want to be there. And this happens in any sport. If a player doesn't get the deal they want, they're going to be sulky, pouty for a while, but eventually they come to and realize, if I don't get things together, I'm not going to get that big move that I want. So,
do you think that's what's happening with Kane? Is he like altering his performance, or is this just like the form that he's in currently?
I'd say it's that, and maybe some of the Euros, because remember, England did go pretty far in the Euros. They went to the final, so that's like what, a month plus. Well, okay, the season ended. Probably had like a week or two break. Goes to the England team.
He had some injury issues after that too. Yeah,
that too. So maybe that's a I'd say that's a hint of that, but the majority of it is him not getting that Man City move. I mean, he's seeing how they play. He's seeing what Spurs going through, and then you've got nothing against Nuno Espirito Santo. It's just he's not a Pep. He's not a Klopp. He's not a Tuchel, and it's just that's probably going to be Nuno's biggest challenge, is trying to get him on board, trying to get him to want to be there.
I'm going to start another little segment here called Over Under, where I just talk about someone who I think is overachieving or underachieving. It could be a team or a person. And my overachievers right now is Brighton and Hove Albion. who currently sit at 6th place in the Premier League table, was someone we tipped at the beginning of the season to possibly go down. I have to say I didn't disagree with them too much because their squad didn't look like it had much going on, but Graham Potter's getting the best out of them. Do you think this continues, or is it kind of one of those start of the season flukes and you see him kind of drop off towards the end of the season?
You know, there's definitely going to be a drop off. There's no denying that. But granted, I said that about Leicester some years ago, and look how that played out. But I don't think it's going to go that far. I'd say at the rate they're going, they'll survive. But with that being said, if they survive, if they get like a decent finish, good luck holding on to Graham Potter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If someone who can come in and take a little club like Brighton and bring them anywhere, just to stay up if you're Brighton, no offense to you guys, should be pretty good. But I mean, to be anywhere, if they finish in Europa League position, that would be a huge.
Oh, absolutely. But if they get like, I would just say survival in general, because I mean, there's some competition to stay up. I mean,
there is, yeah.
That'd be amazing. But yeah, like I said, good luck holding on to Graham Potter.
Uh-huh. Do you have any over or underachievers?
I think I will go with the team sitting right below them is Brentford. I think a lot, I kind of want to lean toward Everton too, but at the same time, that's kind of expected, especially with all the money they've pumped into them.
That happened last year too. They started so well and then finished mid-table again.
But yeah, I got to go with Brentford. I mean, this is a team that it's a project. I mean, I think they've got Americans running the team.
Oh, do they?
So, they've been using the whole analytics thing. And you got to remember, I think, they almost came close to getting promoted, I think, the season before.
Yeah, I think they were in the playoff that year.
And then, it was the playoffs. And then to bounce back from that and still keep going is pretty impressive. And, I mean, you look at them right now, 7th place. They started off their first opening game of the season. They beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
And then, they're fearless. And you know what? I think for any of the newly promoted teams, you got to have that element of fearlessness. You got to. I mean, you look at Leeds last year. Or was it last year when they got promoted?
I think it was. Yeah.
They kind of had that fearlessness. You got to have it. You got to just say we respect you, but we're not afraid. We can. And you're seeing that with Brentford. Yeah. So I mean, I think I think out of the 3 teams that got promoted, they're definitely they'll be hanging around.
I can see that. And let's give some credit to Arsenal, who, although this past weekend they kind of underperformed, they got the huge 3-0 win in the North London derby, and I'll eat my words a little bit with Aaron Ramsdale kind of taking over that number 1 shirt from Bernd Leno pretty easily, and he looks pretty good, which I'll say I was surprised by that.
Again, I think it just goes back to just, what these teams have information that as fans or that or journalists just don't quite, journalists will probably have a little something, definitely more than us, but I just think that maybe there was something they saw like, okay, I think we can make something work with Ramsdale, but credit to him. I mean, he's put Bernd Leno out of a job for the moment, and he's got an England call up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think that's part of like with Arsenal rebuilding their foundation. It's looking like the defense has kind of come together slowly. So I mean, it is. It's just. I mean, I think they could be going in the right direction, but it's just how things have been handled over the past few years, and now it's looking like it's coming together. I'm not going to say, they're going to break into the top 4. But it looks like something is coming together slowly. It's a matter of it being pulled off.
Yeah, they're starting to get some players back from injury. I think Partey being back in the squad has helped them a lot.
Absolutely, that's a big one. But I'm going to say this. I honestly think if they had nothing against Mikel Arteta, they had a Tuchel, for example, he'd probably make someone like an El Nini look like or Xhaka look like a worldie.
That's fair, yeah.
Because I mean,
he knows how to get the best out of his players, obviously, from what we've seen.
And that's what Arsenal need. They need a manager who can. Again, nothing against Arteta. He looks like he has the makings to be a good manager. It's just Arsenal Football Club should not be his starting point. But if they had someone like a Tuchel, someone established, he could be. I'll just say this: Arsenal will probably be up, maybe not in the title race, but they definitely get a guaranteed top 4 spot.
Switching to La Liga real quick, it's been just about as bad of a start for Barcelona as I could have possibly imagined. obviously with Messi leaving, we talked about all their big departures and how their financial situation has put them in a bind. And let's just go ahead and say their injury situation is pretty bad too. Ousmane Dembele also hasn't played again. We talk about him a lot. I think he's about to come back, but that will only last I don't know, a couple weeks. But 2-3-0 losses in the Champions League, and just didn't even look able to compete with Atletico Madrid in this past derby that they had. Currently set at 9th in the La Liga table. It's just going to be. I have a tough time seeing them finishing in Champions League positions even this year, at least with this Ronald Koeman's version of the team.
It's another club that's just been misran over. Who was the guy in charge? Bartolomeu.
That's right.
I mean,
ex-Barca president.
I don't know what these people are. Well, okay, Barcelona, it's different. They got someone running for president, but still, those guys usually have some type of they lawyers, business people, something.
Right,
so
right.
I mean, they've
all
got
suits.
It's just
and have managed to run some of the best players in the world into nothing. Like Coutinho went there, pretty much lost his career. Griezmann
forgot about Coutinho.
Yeah, he's still there. They started him the other day, and he's just as invisible as he always has been. The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that Griezmann's doing just as bad as Atletico as he was in Barcelona. But so La Liga is really up for grabs this year. It looks maybe Atletico's year, but Real Madrid losing to Espanyol again today. It's really open-ended.
Oh, wow. So I see Atletico, but Sociedad, I know they've been putting themselves up there. And I know, what's the guy's name? You're talking
about Isak?
No, Isak. Well, definitely him. He's the other one, but the other guy, Orazabal.
Oh, Orizabal. Yeah, something like that.
Sorry.
Sorry, Spaniards, for butchering that.
I'm going to blame it on the Basque Country. They just got some hard to pronounce things up there. So
You're right about that.
Yeah, they look like they've got something. I mean, and it's good to see, because I know last year they kind of had a flying start. They kind of trailed off, but it looks like they've got something. I mean, holding on to Isak, that looks like that's going to, although that, again, how long is that going to last? And plus Odegaard, he was there for a little bit too, wasn't he? Until Real Madrid yanked him back to do nothing.
Yeah, to send him back out on loan to Arsenal, who he now plays for. I think he
it's a permanent deal.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's pretty good to see. And then who else in La Liga could you, maybe not win it, but still kind of do a Real Sociedad where
Sevilla's always in their 4th right now, and they obviously Villarreal a little bit underperforming right now, but Sevilla always has a great squad, even if they sell their best players, which we talk about them doing a lot. I'm not going to say he's their best player, but they got rid of Luke de Jong to Barcelona. That's just another thing. Didn't seem to be much of a loss in the end, but they did pick up Lamela from Tottenham, so
that's right. Yeah, they did.
They've got a good squad. They'll definitely finish in the Champions League, and their game in hand against Barcelona is going to be a huge one. But they're definitely the better team compared to Barcelona. That's for sure.
So with Barcelona, I mean, I know that everyone knew that post Messi era was just going to be rough. Yeah. Although realistically, I mean, look, great players have left clubs all the time. It just seems like, what was it? Juan Laporta? He got reelected because he was the president when Ronaldinho and
right on their really their glory ages.
So look, he's not going to work a miracle. These things are clearly going to take time. So does it look like? I know it's kind of hard to say now, but does it look like they're kind of doing something to get in the right direction?
Honestly, the only hope I have right now, no, is the answer. I don't see them doing much of that. Right now they're just trying to balance the books and be able to pay, because they got rid of so many of their players on loan just to get the wage bills down. But the one that I did read an article about the possibility of some Dubai billionaire loaning them like $1 billion or something like that to get them out of debt, which is, when big money comes into it, there's always a good chance they're going to ruin that just the same. But wow. Who knows, man? I think it's going to be a while until we see them back to anywhere close to what they used to be. That's for sure.
Well, so with that being said, does that mean they're turning to the academy now, looking to?
That's has to be their only hope, really, is that they've built one of the more prestigious academies in Europe, and That's one thing I really feel like they need to get rid of Koeman for, because he's kind of has that Mourinho thing where he has it out against certain players.
Gotcha.
Everyone in the Barcelona community really wants to see Ricky Puig get his shot. He's a little kind of tiny Iniesta type midfielder that's come through La Masia. And he just has looked fantastic every time he comes on. But Koeman has very publicly kind of told him that if you want to go out on loan, that's fine, because he doesn't really have much of a place for him. So that's kind of frustrating. But obviously we gave the number 10 shirt to Ansu Fati, who's supposed to be our next Messi. That's quite a load on his shoulders for an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I hate it when people do that to these kids. Let them grow up.
I know, right? He's 19 and already being compared to it. Nah, he's still 18, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot he's that young. I mean, because I remember, yeah, you're right, because it was 16 when he burst onto the scene.
When he first got his first team minutes, yeah.
So one more thing on Barcelona. So I've been hearing the calls of Xavi coming in, and we've seen with the former players taking over. We've seen it at Chelsea. We've seen it at Juventus. Would this help or hurt Barcelona in any way?
I would rather they go for more experience. I'm with you when you look at obviously Frank Lampard, like we were talking about, and Andrea Pirlo getting their shot with their legendary club and not working out pretty much in the first year. I think maybe Pirlo got one full year, but and then I feel like they could eventually have their time there if they waited until they were more experienced. So I would love to see Xavi as a Barcelona coach, but I think his 3 years coaching a Qatari side.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's been coaching in the Middle East, but again,
it's not quite the experience you need to be able to run a club like Barcelona, especially one who's in severe financial trouble. But then again, he knows the club better than anyone. So
and then back on that. So I remember Pep Guardiola when, because I remember reading some years back, Cruyff's My Turn. In fact, he was the one who, as soon as Laporte got elected. Mm-hmm. He was the one doing things behind the scenes. He was the one saying, he played his part in getting Pep Guardiola to step up as a coach. But at the same time, it was a different situation because Pep Guardiola was the youth coach. So he was still there. He knew, and Xavi does know the club inside and out, but it's just currently, which I'm pretty sure he keeps up with everything Barcelona, even being wherever he's at.
So we talked in the first episode about how stacked PSG were with Lionel Messi and all their new signings, and they've really gotten off to a pretty underwhelming start. Kind of in all their matches. Messi did score his first goal against City, and they did win that Champions League match. But they have not produced a lot of goals. The front three of Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, and they lost again 2-0 to Rennes. And we were talking about how they were just going to roll over every team in France. How do you have a squad this perfect and deep and experienced and still struggle to beat a Rennes or to really score goals against some of the weaker Champions League clubs?
You got to think about it. PSG, and with all due respect, it just seems like the worst version of a Chelsea, where you've got the money, but the players, and I can't really say this about Messi or Sergio Ramos because, coming from where they came from, just having that experience, but, before they showed up, Neymar was there. Yeah. He was supposed to be the guy. And nothing against Neymar. Well, actually, you know what? No. Great player, but he's not a professional, and he's pretty much made that his club. And it just, you can only imagine what's going on behind the scenes. Mm. And I think I read somewhere, Tuchel, when he left PSG for Chelsea, he was like, oh, shoot, if I made it over there, I should be fine at Chelsea.
Wow.
Because, it's just...
That should say something.
Again, like I said, the worst version of Chelsea, where the owner's throwing money at these players, and you're in a city like Paris, one of the major cities in the world with a lot going on. You think it's going to be easy for these guys to focus on football? They're supposed to run over the league, but again, to go up against Rennes, you can't just be in the league. We'll chill out in Ligue 1, and then when the Champions League come, we'll just flip a switch and go out there and do something.
And when you talk about other big threes, like when Messi and Neymar were playing together at Barcelona with Luis Suarez, you could see the clicking happen almost immediately there. They were on the same page, and with two of the three of the same players in Paris now, it kind of looks still disjointed. And I've heard a lot of people say that the PSG look worse with Messi in the team. And he doesn't run, so that's fair. Yeah. But and I think he's just used to his whole career. The football's been revolving around him. He's been Barcelona's heartbeat, and whenever he's anywhere near the ball, he gets the ball. Like even if he's in a group of people, he always gets the ball. And he's not the main guy anymore at Paris. Even though, I mean, you could probably argue he's still the best player in the world. He's not. When you have three or two other superstars like that, it's just not going to. The world doesn't revolve around him like it did in Barcelona. And I wonder if that's really why he was at his best over there, or do you think we're just getting ahead of ourselves?
Well, there's some truth in that, but also, he's what, 34, 35? Yeah, 34 now.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think he kind of accepted that. Well, I'm not going to be the main guy going over there, but then again, you're going from a Barcelona, what they were, until, everything kind of just tumbled over to a PSG, to a club where like they just throw money and say, all right, guys, here you go.
Mm-hmm. Going over to Serie A in Italy, it looks like Juventus is off to a poorer start than usual. They've kind of lost their reign as the easy-to-pick winners of that league. Napoli started the season undefeated. Of course, the two Milans are up there. Roma with Jose Mourinho. We're looking like we're going to have a bit more of a matchup now in Italy, too.
That's what I've been, I've been kind of watching out of the corner of my eye. So that's actually a good thing. As for Juventus, they've realistically been in transition for the past 3 or 4 years. They've just luckily been able to kind of wing it because they still have that quality. But now, you've got the Milan sides coming back, and Napoli's kind of always been up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roma under Mourinho.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough. And then not to mention Atalanta, although they're kind of struggling right now, but that just kind of says a lot about what they've got going on. Because for how long, for a good part of a decade, they haven't really had anyone pushing them. I mean, especially, I know AC Milan, they've kind of just been a mess. Inter as well. And Roma's just always been that club that's just kind of, hovered around the top 4 over there.
Right.
And it just looks like now. This kind of speaks on how much of a they called back Max Allegri.
Yeah, and I was kind of expecting to see them get like really good again because some of their best years were under Max Allegri, and when he left, they kind of immediately lost that polish. And obviously a lot happened since the few years that he was gone, but they have not exactly hit the ground running where they left off, that's for sure. And, it seemed like those, 2 or 3 years with Ronaldo was supposed to be their time to win a Champions League, and they kind of didn't really play as well in the Serie A either. So I don't know. They could be another team that needs a complete rebuild as well.
It's going to be interesting, but I'll tell you what, I will be keeping an eye on Serie A, see how that plays out.
Yeah. Finally got some competition. And speaking of competition, quick shout out to Frankfurt for being one of the few teams that actually beats Bayern Munich in Germany. That's always nice to see. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Castanet. That's Will Robinson. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. All right, that'll do it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you do want to get in touch with us with those questions, again, the Gmail is for footsakepod@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on social media @forfootsakepod. If you rather watch instead of listen to your podcasts, we're also available on YouTube under the same name. So make sure to subscribe to the page there to stay up to date. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care.